What's up, guys? It's Flash back with some more charts and another video. Today is Friday, May the 10th, around 12:30 p.m. Eastern. Got a bit of a different video for you guys today. We're going to look at momentum as defined by the distance percentage from the moving average. So let's pop, this is on the monthly time frame. Let's pop the moving average on. You guys know I like to use the 3-year moving average. So here we're looking at URA. And then what we're gonna do, we're gonna minimize these a little bit. And really just today, I wanna be looking at, okay, the distance percentage from the 3-year moving average. So for example, as URA climbed, as it did from 2020 to 2021, 2022, see how it got further away from this gray line? Here, I'm actually gonna hide this for now. See how it got further away from the moving average? That's represented by the percentage. So at the peak here, it was about 92% away from what the value of the 3-year moving average was. So if we go like this, we take our measuring tool. The moving average is at about 14.35. If we go 95%, this is where it closed at, right? So the closing price was right about there. And so why do we look at this indicator? Because it can kind of tell us where the momentum is starting to shift. For example, if we pull up, so actually this is a good example. The red line is the 0 line. So that means it's 0% away from the moving average, right? So there's kind of a horizontal breakout line right here. You know, once it got above its moving average, it pretty much never looked back. So this area right here, you can throw a horizontal line right here. And as it popped above, that gave us an indication that, okay, the trend has changed, the momentum has changed, essentially saying this is a good buy zone or a good breakout buy zone, so to speak. But you can also make the argument for, okay, when it gets overheated, you know, when it gets 90% away from its moving average, that could be a time where URA will start to cool off and kind of consolidate as it did here. So once URA kind of breaks out of this horizontal line, which I have drawn here, that could be an indicator that, hey, we're ready for the next leg up. Momentum has shifted a little bit. But once it gets a little bit overheated, or once it gets 95% away from the 3-year moving average, that could be an indicator of saying, hey, this is likely going to be maybe a short-term, mid-term, long-term top. You know, that can be kind of determined as we go. But you can also use this as like a breakdown line. So like we could draw something in here. So right here, once the momentum broke down, that's an indicator that, hey, this needs time to kind of reset. Momentum needs to reset. And as the indicator comes back down to the 0 line, so as URA comes back down to retest the moving average, that could also be arguably a good buy zone, right? Buying when others are fearful. So this can kind of give you a sense of where a stock is at momentum-wise, give you some breakout points that you may not have thought of before, etc., etc. So what I want to do is go through, again, some of the ratios I presented yesterday, some of these tickers, and just kind of go through where we're at from momentum perspective to kind of get an idea of, okay, is this soon to be breaking out? Is this near maybe a taking a break point? So that's kind of the basis of this exercise. So I want to jump into the URA versus SPX. And this one I think is super, super interesting because there's a well-defined breakout line of when uranium, we could have an indication of when uranium is really going to start outperforming S&P 500. And yes, you could probably argue that this horizontal, like this price point, the price can maybe tell us that once it breaks out of that horizontal breakout line. But this momentum indicator will also give us more confidence that yes, momentum is also breaking out, and we can have more confidence that we're doing the right thing with our investments. So I think this little triangle right here is super interesting from a momentum perspective. I think this is eventually going to break to the upside. And then if we look at URA priced in gold, another one that I looked at yesterday, there's another kind of little momentum line here, horizontal, diagonal momentum, and we're kind of keep tagging the 0 line here. So we're retesting that moving average again, this is kind of building the energy for the next leg up. So ideally we kind of jump around through here and then pop up here to 0.02 compared to gold. I hope that's making sense. So I'm going to go through like CCJ, for example. Like here's long-term momentum on CCJ. So like you can also draw some horizontals in here, like right here may be a good one. We'll take this diagonal out for now, but like, so right here where it tagged 112% above the 3-year moving average, this is where it kind of took a break as it did over here, and it tagged it up again right here. It kind of took a break, consolidated, and so what we can even do is kind of go like this. And then, you know, for these blow off types, so here's like a divergence where momentum shot up, then it made a lower high on momentum. So we kind of got a sense that, okay, the momentum is slowing down, and then it did one more blow off top here back in 2007, and that was kind of the nail in the coffin, right? So we can kind of even draw in this, there was a warning sign right here where momentum broke down in June of 06. Sure, it made one more higher high, but momentum was telling you that I wouldn't trust that higher high. So that's a good indicator, I think, and that's why I use it. So it looks like we're getting ready to building the energy for a next leg up to maybe tag 114% above the 3-year moving average. So again, what we can do is kind of draw in a projection of that moving average, right? And then we can measure, okay, what is 114% above here? It's about $80, 81.30. So that kind of give us a general idea of where CCJ is going to be from a distance percentage from the moving average, you know, once it reaches this kind of support resistance area. So it's interesting, right? Okay, let's look at Bannerman. So what we can do here is kind of draw a little bit of a, so this is kind of a shift in momentum right here, and it was also defined there by price. And yeah, it looks like we just want to keep holding this trend from a momentum perspective, keep riding it up. So again, Bannerman, one of the best stocks going out there. It looks great. You can look at Boss Energy. And so Boss Energy also has this kind of trend going forward a little bit. Got to kind of play with that. I don't know if that's quite valid, but you can see, okay, so Boss Energy may start to get overheated and may need to cool off, you know, once it gets to be 180% above its 3-year moving average. You know, did it right here, momentum reset. Okay, interesting. We're kind of just taking a look at these bad boys. Here's another one, Paladin. So Paladin, I drew this horizontal in, kind of goes back over here. So Paladin isn't anywhere near where it tends to cool off, right? It can go way up here, it can go up here. Maybe this is a safe place for us to draw a cool off zone for Paladin. So that's 283 percentage points away. So if we follow this moving average up, because the moving average is going to continue to go up, maybe we'll 283 from here. You know, we could expect Paladin to maybe get to $47 before it might consolidate again. So, but look, it's breaking out momentum-wise. So the Paladin looks very, very good, looks very, very strong, right? Okay, Encore Energy. Another one that is just kind of, you know, it touched the moving average and it has a lot of room to run. And it's kind of just getting started. And that's why I think Encore is a really good candidate right now. Like if we're not in the uranium space, this looks like a horizontal breakout line right here. And momentum, there's a lot of room to run from a momentum perspective. So that's why I like Encore a lot right here too, particularly at this point in time. Okay, over to FSY, another leader in the space as I consider it. And yeah, again, similar to Encore, there's a ton of room to run. You know, we're above the moving average. We're kind of consolidating below resistance from a price perspective. And yeah, a lot of room to run. I'm seeing a lot of room to run in all these uranium stocks, really. Okay, UEC, interesting. Can't really, maybe we can throw a line in right, this kind of zone right here. Interesting. I don't know what to make of that right now. Let's look at NextGen. So NextGen is interesting too because the momentum has slowed down over time. There's not as much pop with NextGen. The price isn't getting as stretched from the moving average as it had in the past, right? But we don't have a ton of data here. NextGen's still a pretty relatively young stock. It's been a leader in the space. And so what we would ultimately want to see is maybe a breakout of this line. We don't even know if this is a valid trend line yet, but we could also probably draw in a horizontal where it has support and resistance from a momentum perspective somewhere in there. So again, just another thing to kind of keep our eye on. NextGen's down another 9% today, which isn't great, but we'll talk about that later. Denison. Okay, so this is another reason why I love Denison right here, right now, because we're breaking out of some big support resistance zone, breaking out of this downtrend, it looks like, and from a momentum perspective, we are breaking out with a lot of room to run. So this is why I really like Denison Mines here as well. Looks like we're going to be ascending into this upwards channel. So I would say let's star Encore, let's star DNN. Those look like pretty good stocks right now. We'll look at ISO. And this one is also looking super explosive. So big uptrend into some sort of consolidation or flag. Momentum has reset. It's come back to the zero line. And there looks to be somewhat of a clear breakout point in terms of momentum right around here. So I think ISO is also looking interesting from a momentum perspective. We'll look at Lotus, another one I've kind of thrown into the mix recently. Big uptrend, momentum reset, and we're kind of just continuing our march up. It's very steady. So you kind of want to see this line hold. And yeah, Lotus looks good. And I'm going to go through just a handful of others. So that was the leaders of the pack. Let's look at some of them in the middle of the pack. And a good one here, I think, is Centrus, right? Another clear, defined breakout line from a momentum perspective. Big run up, reset near the zero line. I think once this kind of moves up right here, that's kind of go time, right? That'll probably coincide with Centrus coming up here and breaking out of the $58 horizontal price bar. Okay, we'll look at Elevate because it also has a well-defined little ascending triangle on the momentum. Super, super interesting. You love to see this from Elevate. Just a big consolidation right here. And you see once this gets above, 42% distance from the moving average, I think it could be go time again. And then last but not least, I want to look at Energy Fuels, UUUU. This one has kind of always been talked about where maybe people aren't as happy with it, but again, I think this is just a big consolidation before a powerful move higher. And so when we look at momentum, there's a big downtrend line that I think we're about to break. And so maybe this needs a little bit of time to go sideways. Maybe we'll form, a little pattern like this. But this, once this pops a little bit, maybe gets above the zero line, that's a good indicator that, hey, Energy Fuels is the real deal and there could be an explosive move coming. We can even look at, we throw a horizontal with breakout line right here. I mean, this was early, but you could have caught this run in Energy Fuels. Sure, there was that dip in March 2020. But again, we could even throw another horizontal kind of like right here. And then boom, this was that breakout, big breakout. So I think we're getting ready for another big breakout, especially that we're making a higher low on price, right? So again, guys, I hope that's helpful for you. Main takeaways are we can look at momentum to see if a stock is about to break out or not, or if it needs some time to cool off. And especially URA versus the S&P 500, we have a well-defined breakout line that we're waiting for, and URA versus gold, a well-defined breakout line that we're waiting for. So hope this was helpful for you guys. I will catch you guys in the next one. See ya. See ya. Have a good weekend.